You head straight down this path until you hit the river. Don't stop.
The rancher offered him the chance to pick any horse for free. Strong horses worth thousands stood proudly in front of him. But the poor cowboy ignored them all, and chose the weakest donkey. The crowd burst into laughter. What they didn't know was that this one decision would change his life forever. Jack had nothing but his worn boots and a tired body. He lived alone in a small wooden cabin at the edge of town. The roof leaked when it rained, and the cold wind entered through the cracks in the walls. At night, he slept under a thin blanket, staring at the dark ceiling, wondering how long he could continue living like this. Every morning, Jack woke before the sun. He walked for miles, searching for any work he could find. Sometimes he helped repair fences. Sometimes he carried heavy supplies. And sometimes he was turned away without a single word. He never complained. But inside, he was tired. He watched other cowboys ride strong, beautiful horses across the open land. Their lives seemed easier, faster, better. Jack had never owned a horse. He could not afford one. So he walked everywhere, step by step, through heat and cold. People rarely noticed him. To them, he was just another poor cowboy trying to survive. But deep inside his heart, Jack still carried hope. Hope that one day his life would change. He just did not know that day was closer than he thought. One morning, Jack heard that a wealthy rancher named Mr. Collins needed help. Mr. Collins owned the largest ranch in the area. His land stretched far beyond the hills, and his barns were filled with strong and valuable horses. Many men wanted to work for him, but he only chose those he trusted. Jack walked to the ranch and asked for a chance. Mr. Collins looked at him carefully. Jack's clothes were old, and his boots were worn, but there was honesty in his eyes. "There is hard work to do," Mr. Collins said. "It will not be easy." "I am not afraid of hard work," Jack replied quietly. For the next several days, Jack worked from sunrise to sunset. He repaired broken fences, carried heavy wood, and cleaned the barns. His hands became sore, and his body ached, but he never stopped. Mr. Collins watched him closely. He saw something different in Jack. This was not just a man working for money. This was a man working with heart. On the final day, Mr. Collins approached him with a surprising offer. "Jack," he said calmly, "you may choose any one horse from my ranch. It will be yours." Jack could hardly believe what he had just heard. Mr. Collins led him toward the large barn where the horses were kept. As the doors opened, Jack's eyes widened in amazement. Inside stood the most beautiful horses he had ever seen. They were tall and strong. Their fur was clean and shining under the sunlight. Their muscles moved smoothly beneath their skin as they walked proudly inside their stalls. Some were deep brown. Others were pure black or bright white. Each one looked powerful and full of life. These were not ordinary horses. They were fast, valuable, respected. Other workers stood nearby, watching Jack closely. They whispered to each other, already guessing which horse he would choose. "Anyone would pick the strongest one," one man said quietly. Jack stepped forward slowly. His heart beat faster with every step. He had dreamed of this moment for years. Owning a horse would change everything. He could travel faster, work better, live easier. The horses looked at him with calm, confident eyes. This was his chance. His one chance. But then, something unexpected caught his attention in the far corner of the barn. In the far corner of the barn, away from the strong horses, stood a small gray donkey. It was thin and quiet. Its fur was rough and dirty, and its body looked weak. Its head was lowered, and it did not move like the others. While the horses stood tall and proud, the donkey remained still, almost as if it wanted to disappear. No one paid attention to it. It did not shine like the horses. It did not look strong or valuable. It looked forgotten. Jack slowly walked toward it. The donkey lifted its head and looked at him. Its eyes were tired, filled with sadness and fear. In that moment, Jack felt something deep inside his chest. He understood that look. He had seen it before. He had seen it in himself. A life ignored. A life struggling. The donkey did not move away. It simply stood there, watching him quietly. Behind him, the strong horses waited, ready to be chosen. But Jack could not look away from the weak donkey. For reasons he could not explain, he felt a connection, as if they both shared the same story. Jack stood beside the weak donkey, his hand resting gently on its neck. Behind him, the strong horses waited, proud and valuable. The workers watched closely, expecting him to turn around and choose one of them instead. Mr. Collins stepped forward. "Have you made your choice?" he asked calmly. Jack took a quiet breath. "Yes," he said. "I choose this donkey." For a moment, there was silence. Then the laughter began. The workers looked at each other in disbelief. "The donkey," one man said, laughing. "He must be joking." Another shook his head. "He could have had the best horse here, and he chose that?" More laughter followed. "What a foolish decision," someone said loudly. Jack felt their words, but he did not react. He kept his hand on the donkey, feeling its weak body beneath his touch. Mr. Collins looked surprised. He had expected Jack to choose one of the powerful horses. "You are certain?" Mr. Collins asked. Jack nodded calmly. The laughter continued behind him. But Jack did not turn around. He had made his choice, and deep inside, he knew it was the right one. Later that evening, Jack stood alone beside the donkey. He gently placed his hand on its neck. The donkey remained calm, as if it understood him. "The strong horses don't need me," Jack whispered softly. "They already have everything." He paused, looking into its tired eyes. "But you've been forgotten. Just like me." The donkey stayed close. Jack smiled faintly. "I know what it feels like to be ignored," he said. "And I won't leave you behind." In that quiet moment, his choice was no longer about value. It was about kindness. And kindness would soon change both of their lives. The next morning, Jack left the ranch with the donkey walking beside him. The workers watched from a distance, some still shaking their heads. They believed Jack had made a foolish mistake. But Jack did not look back. He walked forward with quiet confidence. The road ahead was long and difficult. Jack still had no money and no proper home. He returned to his small cabin, where the cold air waited inside. He gave the donkey a place to rest beside the cabin and brought it water in an old bucket. Food was limited. Jack shared what little he had. Some days, he ate less so the donkey could eat more. He gathered grass and carried it back with tired hands. He worked harder than ever, taking every small job he could find. At first, the donkey was weak and slow. But Jack was patient. He spoke to it gently and treated it with care. He never forced it. He never raised his voice. Days passed, and slowly, the donkey began to follow him more closely. Trust was growing. Their journey had begun with nothing. But they were no longer alone. Weeks passed, and the donkey slowly began to change. Its body grew stronger with proper food and rest. Its steps became steady, and its eyes no longer looked afraid. It followed Jack everywhere, never leaving his side. What once seemed weak and useless now showed quiet strength. One evening, Jack took a job delivering supplies to a nearby town. He loaded the bags onto the donkey's back, worried it might be too heavy. But the donkey stood firm. Step by step, it carried the weight without stopping. Halfway through the journey, dark clouds filled the sky. A sudden storm began, and the road became dangerous. Jack slipped on the wet ground and fell hard. Pain shot through his leg, and he could not stand. He was alone. But the donkey did not run. It stayed beside him. The donkey lowered its body, allowing Jack to hold on to it. Slowly, it helped him stand. Then, step by step, it guided him safely home. In that moment, Jack realized the truth. The donkey was never weak. It had simply been waiting for someone to believe in it. Months later, Mr. Collins rode through town and saw a familiar figure in the distance. It was Jack. And beside him walked the donkey. But it was no longer weak. Its body was strong, its step steady, and its eyes full of life. It carried supplies with confidence, staying close to Jack. Mr. Collins stopped and watched in silence. He could not believe the change. This was the same donkey everyone had laughed at. Jack noticed him and smiled. Mr. Collins nodded with quiet respect. In that moment he understood. Jack had not chosen the donkey. He had saved it. And it had saved him too. Years passed, and Jack's life slowly changed. With the donkey by his side, he was able to work more, travel farther, and earn enough to survive. What once felt impossible now felt within reach. The donkey never left him. Through every storm, every long road, and every difficult day, it stayed loyal. People no longer laughed. They watched with respect. The same donkey they had called useless had become Jack's greatest strength. One evening, as the sun began to set, Jack stood beside the donkey outside his small cabin. He gently placed his hand on its neck, remembering the day everyone had laughed at him. "They never saw your true value," he whispered. The donkey stood calmly, its eyes peaceful and trusting. Jack smiled. He had been given a chance to choose strength. But he had chosen kindness instead. And in return, kindness had given him something far greater than wealth. It had given him a loyal companion. Because sometimes, the world laughs at the choices made from the heart. But in the end, those choices create the strongest bonds of all.